Welcome into the Crypto Bunker podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Bitcoin, crypto. We're going through some charts. Wanted to make sure that I got on here to address a few things. Yeah, there's some really cool things I've been looking at, and some of them may seem a little bit unorthodox. I like to look at previous charts, how they relate to the current chart of Bitcoin, of Ethereum, of optimism, things like that. I really do like to look at that. So we're going to take a look at that. Right now, what I'm seeing and what I'm sort of pointing out here is I believe that this cycle of Bitcoin here is actually pretty similar to this cycle of Bitcoin here. Okay. And, people may think, oh, like that's hopium. And, now I have FOMO because you're saying that we're going to go like way, up and everything. I'm just saying that this is a possibility. None of this is financial advice. I'm not trying to get you guys to invest. I'm just showing you basically what I'm seeing. So what I'm seeing here potentially in the charts is kind of what I pointed out before, if you've paid attention, but I see a peak. Okay, so if we can just go into just sort of circling these, right? I see a double peak here in this cycle, and I see one peak in this cycle. Okay, I see a double peak here in this cycle. Okay, so we have two peaks. We had a correction and then a higher high. And then we have this shoulder here, which I think is sort of familiar, right? Okay, then we crash down pretty hard, weeks on end. We crash down and we have a similar looking capitulation candle here as we do here. Now, obviously, this was the lowest low and this was not the lowest low. But what I'm seeing is that this candle here actually sort of looks like this one here. And then we have a sort of bull flag formation here as we had here. And then we broke up and we sort of chopped, broke up again. And then that actually started a full new cycle of bull runs. Let me see if I have it up still. So I do have it up on this one. I put numbers to these for the Ethereum chart. I actually see this as well with the Ethereum chart, except it's it's a little bit different. So if we're looking at it, what we can see is that we have sort of a capitulation down, just a constant down. Obviously, we had a shoulder, and then just all the way down, right? So we have that lowest low. We're probably not going to go back down there. Then we have a rally up, okay, to, pretty substantial number here, which could be 2, okay? And then we have a correction, a lower high, and then another capitulation, and basically a double bottom. Especially if you look at the closing, it's a higher low, okay? Higher low, double bottom formation. And then we rally up and we sort of chop. We're just like we did here. We pierce through this high and we go a little bit higher, okay, just like this in terms of this. And then we chop into a bull flag formation, followed by a ripping bull run. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, okay? But these are just things that I'm noticing. And so I wanted to let you guys know. It's not a guarantee. Nothing is a guarantee. We could easily, we could easily come down and like double bottom here or something again. This could actually end up being a massive bearish wedge. if we're looking at it like a sort of like a massive bear pennant, as I've said before, and then we come all the way back down to like 600 or something like that. Because we don't know what's going to happen, right? But I will say that it does seem like Ethereum and Bitcoin at least are pretty safe in terms of regulatory clarity. Bitcoin especially is definitely safe. And I would just say that right now Bitcoin is looking very bullish. I would not be fading this. I could see it being a double top. But we're not, we're in a position where let's compare the RSIs as well. We can see that, we could be, if you wanted to compare it to this cycle, which I think some people are, I mean, if they want to, you could say that we're actually due for a double bottom or capitulation, right? Like if this here, this action is actually sort of similar to this action, which it is. And this was the high, just like this. We chopped down, we did a fake out, and then another fake out. So like we could be here, and then we could just bam, all of a sudden capitulate. Okay. This is all possible. I want to emphasize that. But what I'm seeing right now is that to me, and let me put the moving averages on. To me, this is accumulation, continued accumulation, just like, I've been accumulating, or trying to at least, over the past few months. And so, that's where I think we're at. In terms of Polkadot, this is potentially a classic double bottom. We do see a higher low in the RSI and a double bottom. So when you have relative strength increasing as we're double bottoming, so we have a bottom and then the same exact price of a bottom, but the RSI is higher, that is a good sign. That is showing support at that level. And that's essentially, I mean, I think probably as low as we're going to go. And this is really anything below 5 to me is cheap. And Polkadot is regulatorily wise pretty safe. I think it's like, in my opinion, it's probably the third safest in terms of regulatory clarity. Maybe not third. You could probably put Litecoin ahead of it, maybe Bitcoin Cash. But Polkadot is right up there, and the tech is still there. I think it's a long-term play for sure. It's a personally, it's not any more than 10% of my crypto net worth. ETH is obviously my biggest holding, and I want my Bitcoin holding to be probably 3 times the size of my Polkadot holding, and my ETH holding, maybe 5 times as big or something. I do think Ethereum is still the one that is going to show the most growth over the time frame of the bull run. I just think that there's just so many big players, BlackRock, JP Morgan, applying for, not JP Morgan, but BlackRock, Wisdom Tree, and a few others recently who all of a sudden are applying for Bitcoin ETFs. I think Ethereum will get its ETF, and it might even have a dividend on it. And if you have an ETF or a mutual fund or trust that's paying a dividend, I mean, you have an asset that is, I mean, you're talking about digital oil for the Web3 decentralized internet that also has a yield on it, that also is burning some of the fees for you. So it's even an extra yield to hold it. You have 93,000 validators in the queue waiting to get in right now, and 0 who are trying to get out. And I just think that it's one of the most obvious trades of my life. If you're willing to hold through the volatility, it's, to me, it's just so obvious, that, it's hard to ignore. Let's look at some targets, because if we look back, and I'll just end with these sort of targets here, but if we look back on, okay, like what did this end up being here, you can see that these targets really worked out well for Ethereum here. I think I'm drawing it wrong, because I thought last time it was like perfectly on point with it, but let's see, well, I think maybe I was looking at it like this. If you try to get both these in, I think it's something like that. So you can see like it pretty much perfectly touched the 4236. You can see the targets were reached perfectly with that. So to me, I do it like this here. So it's going to be something like 16K. That's, I think, a realistic expectation. You also saw that the fib on this met pretty much perfectly as well. With Bitcoin, that's not the exact drawing, but you can see pretty much that it was a nice target here. So for the next one, we could say this is the line that I draw there, because you want to touch as many points as you can, so I get this sort of whole trend up here. And you can kind of see that it points out some key levels. But yeah, so I'm seeing, 200K, 167K, something like that for this Bitcoin cycle. So I do want to emphasize, like, we are super early. I will show something real quick with gold. If you look at GLD, this is when GLD was instituted. So this is essentially what I think is going to happen with Bitcoin, is a massive bull run that is started by the initial forming of an ETF. And you can see gold was like $350 or something, or $450 or $500 at that time. And it went all the way up to 2000. So it was a massive gain for the ETF. And it basically just institutionalized gold. It made it easy to hold something that wasn't physical, and you didn't have to worry about the custody. And just the fact that Blackrock is applying to do this with Bitcoin, to me, means that they have the technology to hold in terms of custody. It also means that eventually it will be manipulated just like gold is. So TradFi is trying to sort of take control, but what people, are kind of missing, and they're saying, oh, it's going to be manipulated and it's over. And, they can't really manipulate a $400 billion asset. Gold is a $12 trillion asset. So, with Bitcoin and even, Ethereum as well, it's like, unless it's like a few trillion, I just don't see the manipulation. I see a nice bull run that we essentially never touch these levels again that we're at for Bitcoin. And then something like this, where we just goes sideways, for 10 years at 200 to 500K or something like that, um, so yeah, I think that people are sort of missing the fact that, yeah, if this ETF gets passed, like, it's a guarantee. I mean, I'm not giving financial advice or anything, but I'm just saying that I think that's kind of what we're seeing with this rally a little bit is, people realizing like, okay, like this is a small asset class um, that is, destined to do bigger things in the future, especially with price action. If we look, let's do a bars pattern for this and see if we can like compare it. But I mean, obviously this is taking us way higher because we know that this was like a crazy cycle, but take us up to 1.3 million, I think. Is that what that's saying? Yeah. So, I do see those as pretty similar price actions there. You even have like the bottom sort of being at the same time. Um, you know, I don't know. I don't know if that's possible, but you never know with Bitcoin. I mean, that would take us to that would take us to what is it? 5 trillion or something like that. Or maybe I'm wrong about that, but no, I think that would actually take us to 20, that would be 20 trillion. So well, if you do um yeah, I mean it's basically 500K is 500K Bitcoin is 10 trillion. So that means that a million is like 20 trillion, something like that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. Hopefully you guys got something out of the video. If you did, please like, subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.